here on the side of the road. I hope that everyone behind me can see that I have my flashers on. I don't want to get hit. My friends, this is the Ponderosa style of fencing. I want you to notice the 6-inch round post that go in the ground, and those go in every 8 foot. And then you have this pipe that connects and goes between them. We ordered a 13 gauge pipe. It also comes in a 16 gauge, which is not quite as heavy duty, but the 13 gauge is pretty good as far as what you would want with your cows. This over here, I know my windows are streaked a bit, sorry about that. But it's called the Ponderosa. The posts already come prefabbed, they're cut. And then your pipe come in 16-foot links. So those connect from end to end. And I do think this will be a very attractive fence to be along the front of the L&J property. Did I say L&J? The J and L property. You can also connect and cross fence to it like they've done right over here for their yard. That's gorgeous. It is fairly expensive, but it's a long lasting fence. There's a coating on the pipe that keeps it from rusting. And of course, they also have it painted. It's painted from the factory. I think we're gonna order ours in black, and then we will leave our post the natural color, and then let them just kind of fade with the weather, which is what most people do on this type of fencing. But it's gorgeous fencing. You see it a few places here and there, and this is exactly what we would like to have at the J and L property. So when you hear me talk about Ponderosa style fencing, this is what we're talking about. Go ahead and tell this story.
It's the first time that I met him.
First time you met me,
And I saw his name was Lester in the thing.
Uh-huh.
And Lindsay had told me about him, and so I was like, "Oh, you're Lester Longhorn."
Lester Longhorn.
And I was like, "Longhorn Lester, whatever." I was like, "You're on YouTube."
You called me Lester Longhorn.
Yep.
That's a funny, that's hilarious. And there was a bunch of people in line too. That was the worst, that was the most embarrassing thing. There was people in line behind me. I was embarrassed.
Yeah.
Lester Longhorn. All right, we're getting here to the J&L property, and there's a truck, a dually truck sitting in my driveway, which is okay. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm expecting a fella who's going to help me work, or he's actually going to do some fencing for me. And I'm very happy to see that he's actually driving a contractor type truck. So we're getting all this front fence replaced, and I want to do something very nice. Boy, this driveway's a mess though. All right, so I just had a really nice meeting with these fellas. They work out of Houston, and what they do is fencing. And I feel like the meeting went really well. I think that they're very professional. He knows what he's doing. He's done a lot of work. He's a young guy, not young, but he's young-ish. And he's excited about building his business. And so what I told him I would do is come by and take down all the old fencing, get all this stuff cleaned up through here, make it to where whenever he comes out, it'll be kind of a blank slate. I want to show you the kind of fencing that we're talking about. And it's not going to be the same style of fence. We're going to try to avoid a lot of the wood if we can. Thanks, fellas. We're going to avoid a lot of the wood if we can. It's a lot of upkeep that wood requires. But we do have a type of fencing. It's called the Ponderosa, which that in itself is fairly, well, you know, it's kind of ranch style fencing. It's not that expensive. He was saying they've done Ponderosa fencing before on ranches. And the only downfall is that when you have cows pushing up against it, sometimes there's pipe that is more of an aluminum pipe, and it can bend. He says, well, what a lot of people do, well, they use the Ponderosa fence style, but they'll also run a few strands of barbed wire along it as well to keep your cows from pushing up onto it. So we really like that idea. I will talk more about this with Jamie, obviously, but our plans are going to be in phases. We're going to, I think we'll have enough money to get the front of the fence line done all the way across the front. And he thinks he can do that in a week's time. So in a week's time, they'll get the entire front of the fence done. I'll have to have all this out of the way first. And so that'll be great. And then what we'll do is we will come back and begin to save some money if we like it, and I'm sure that we will. If they work right, and you know what I mean by that. You remember the last guy that made all the promises. But if they work right and they do get it done, and it looks the way that we like, then what we'll do is we'll start working on our next section of fence, which will be phase 2 of the project, which will go straight up our driveway on both sides with that same style of fencing. It'll match up nice and pretty. These guys are good. He will bring his own tractor. He didn't want to use mine. Don't forget, the last guy asked to use my tractor, which was kind of something I should have been a red flag. This guy has all of his own tools, and get this, this guy brings his own camper, his own crew, and they stay on the job site while they work. All right, so what I will have to start doing, and I'm not going to start today because it's very wet. I don't want to put a bunch of ruts out here, but I'll have to come by and I'll just use my tractor and pretty much push all this fencing down, push it into a pile to burn. I'll have to bring a chainsaw and cut all these small trees out of the way. These are cedar trees, I believe. Which I'm sure these cedar trees would be great to kind of prevent some of the noise from the highway. But we're so far up off the road, we don't hear much noise there anyway. So I'm not concerned about the noise. I will pile everything up and get everything out of his way. He says that based on the amount of fence that we need, which is 900 foot of fencing. That trash, that's an old dog food bag. He thinks that they'll be able to get all of the supplies in maybe by the 16th of this month. He says that he will bring up his tractor. They'll also bring up their water. He has a water tank on a trailer that they used for the concrete mixing. And, oh, this is neat. And get this. He says they also bring his own camper. They have an RV that all 4 of his men will stay in during the week they're working here. So he asked, could they hook it up there at our place? I says, absolutely. So they will. That's great. They're going to hook up their RV and they'll actually be staying here on site. And I says, y'all don't mind. He goes, whenever they work, out of town, that's always easier. So they don't have to spend as much time, with transport back and forth, having to drive the hour to work every day and then drive back home in the afternoon. It's just easy just to live on the site, stay on the site. He said that if I couldn't do that, as far as offering him a place to stay, they would pull here into the roadside rest stop and they would just camp it there. I said, no, you're not going to do that. If you're working here, you can absolutely stay here. But anyway, this is the spot they're going to be working at. We're excited about this. I think he seems very legit. We have a contract that he's going to send over. So it's not going to be like the other guy who's going to take half the money up front and then disappear. This guy's going to get it done. And I love the fact that he says he can get it done in a matter of, in a week. That's wonderful news to hear. So we will keep our fingers crossed. I know it's going to look beautiful. Guys, it's my first time to walk down through here. Y'all do realize that. I've never walked this part of the property. And then my question is, I know this is my property line. Does this belong to the state? Is all of this wooded area just kind of part of the state? I don't know how that works. But anyway, they're only going to go down to the flags over here. That's where their corner post will go. And then at that point, it'll be up to me to do my barbed wire fencing from this corner on up, how we're going to have it. So I'm excited. So it could be, guys, it could be that by the end of this month, we have beautiful fencing along the front of the J&L Ranch. What I'm going to do now is show you another property down the road from here that has the same style of Ponderosa fencing. I think you're going to love it. I really do. I think you're going to love it. Some of the pros, it'll last a lifetime. The pipe comes with some kind of a seal that makes it where it won't rust. The post are either a 6 or an 8-inch post, a wood post, so you know you have 20 years or more out of those. So I'm really excited about it. Anyway, that was a great meeting. I feel good about this guy, and then I will absolutely promote his company on the channel, but we're gonna wait until we see. We're not gonna promote anything until we see how it all goes. Oh, and by the way, this pipeline is old. A lot of people have seen these signs. This is cable route, Southwestern Bell Telephone. Now, we've already called the 811, and we already have an outline of where everything is at. And the gas pipeline that runs through here is an empty pipeline. It has not been used in years.
Don't let your troubles fester. Come watch Longhorn Lester.
Yeah, something like that.